Hello, hi, welcome viewers. It's so good to see you again. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a departure, a little bit of a new thing that we're going to throw at you. So, I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to spoil anything, but we're going to get into it very quickly after we go through our introductions. And I'll start. Hi, I'm Avery. I'm a community ambassador right here in the Rolling Nomads. I'm at Avery DeBoy on all the social media platforms. You can catch me streaming on Twitch. You can catch me in various games here on the Rolling Nomads. But yeah, that's me. So let's go ahead and pass it over to our wonderful new guest, GM Ian.
Why, hello, hello, hello. Thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me this morning or this night or whenever the viewers watch the show. So my name is Ian Hathaway. I am originally a historian slash game writer, designer slash translator, editor. I do sort of almost everything that the business needs doing. I am currently the translator for this wonderful project, Totem, which we will be playing now by Officina Meningi, an Italian game studio. And yeah, the game will be shortly in Kickstarter. But depending on when you watch it, it might be sooner or it might have passed. And I'm very excited to be here. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Ian. And like Ian said, we're gonna have links to that Kickstarter if it's started down below. Keep an eye out for that, because that's part of the reason we're here. Let's go ahead and throw it on over to the wonderful Azure Butterfly.
Hey everybody, I'm the Azure Butterfly, or Azure for short, or simply Rachel. I am the creative director here in the Rolling Nomads. You may know me as Ingrid of Sintra and Witcher Ways of Old, Maria Versalini in Bloodlines, and so many more. And yeah, I also have my own streaming channel that I'll be getting back to very shortly. It's at the Azure Butterfly on all the social medias and the like. Uh, yeah, that's me.
Wonderful. So excited to have you here, Azure. And last but certainly not least, the wonderful Druid by Night.
Hello, I'm Luna, or Druid by Night. You can find me at Druid by Night on all the social medias, including on Twitch. And I'm the social media director here at the Rolling Nomads. I play in a lot of our games. You may have seen me as a vampire or a sorceress. But tonight, I'm very excited to be playing Totem with y'all.
Absolutely. And without any further ado, we'll go ahead and pass it over to our wonderful GM for the evening, Ian, as we engage in some haunted horror hijinks.
All right. Thank you, thank you. So, as you were mentioning, this is a horror game, a game in which brave seekers will explore a haunted location. It is a collective narrative game in the sense that it is relatively rules light. There's a lot of shared storytelling involved, and I'll walk us briefly through the process before we get going. On the GM end, I have a couple points defined, including the color palette, if you will, of the location where we start. However, as players, you have a chance to essentially sculpt the surroundings in any way you want, coherent with the narrative that has been established. And you'll also have a chance to draw a map of the haunted location. Um, and I'm going to briefly mention, we talked about this before the recording. It is a horror game. So considering this is a horror game, we have had a conversation about what we feel comfortable having in the game beforehand, which is something I would highly recommend doing in general, but especially for playing a game like this, which can get, bad things can happen to the characters in this game. And to some extent, the game is designed to make that happen, if you will, being a horror-themed experience. Um, so I would highly recommend doing that, and the game book does contain instructions and help to sort that aspect of the play experience. So having said that, what we will do today is we will start from the very start. We'll start with character creation, which only takes a few minutes, and we will take it from there. Before I ask you something about your characters, I would like to paint a little bit of a picture about where you find yourselves, which might help you understand why you are in the place you are. So, the place you'll be exploring is a huge manor house slash mansion, abandoned by who knows how long, actually. It is called the Greystone. It is located within a place called Greystone Park in a creepy and eerie moor slash marshland. Already getting to this place is a challenge, and it baffles you why anyone would have thought to build a mansion which is surrounding park, enclosed park. There are walls all around it. There's a large park and the big mansion in the center. Why anyone would have built a place there. Certainly its location explains why it is completely abandoned and no one visits it, except for you. And one of the questions I will ask you is, why are you here? What is your hook or link to this place? That is one of the main components of the character creation. So this is more or less all I'm going to tell you about the general setting. You can imagine, I'm sort of imagining it somewhere placed in England. It's a big 19th century mansion, and it is within this infinite gray countryside in which you can see very little except for some bent trees and bogs. Greystone, as its name suggests, overgrown everywhere, abandoned. Everything else about this place is something that you guys are going to tell me about. Keep that in mind while we start to think about which character archetype you're interested in playing. There are 4 archetypes in the game. Each one of them is defined really only by a general role in the narrative, but by one particular ability slash power that they can use in different moments of the game. And I'll briefly go over them with you, and you can pick which one calls to you. We don't have to. This is not a game where we need to worry about having a party that is somehow balanced or anything. There is one archetype, which is the poet. Artists, writers, in general, people who inspire others with their talents, etc. If you want to all be poets, that is completely fine. So starting with the poet, in each phase, the game has phases. We'll talk about that later. Essentially, you can allow one of your allies to re-roll a check. So this is the special ability that the poet has. We have the veteran, and this character archetype includes anyone who is essentially an expert in trauma because of the violent / adventurous experience they have lived in their lives of many different kinds. And their special ability is they are able to suffer an additional trauma, which means that they can essentially take more mental / physical damage before collapsing or being taken over by the spirit that infests the location. We have the psychic, covers everybody from exorcists, professional exorcists, to anyone with a natural predisposition to contacting the beyond. And this archetype can attempt to contact the spirit directly, to ask questions to it, one question, anytime we discover a binding. Bindings we'll go over in a second. The thing to keep in mind is that the psychic can contact the spirit in specific moments of the game to ask questions. The last archetype is the martyr archetype, which includes, I love the description because it includes anyone from religious people to parents as martyrs, which as a young parent I can sort of relate to somehow. Health professionals, anyone who is willing to sacrifice themselves for neighbors and loved ones. And the martyr has a very interesting power. I play martyr often. Uh, they can shift another character's trauma onto themselves, which means they can remove other characters' traumas. They become more traumatized, more damaged, and so that is their particular ability. Which one of these calls to you? I'm going to ask, so starting from in the order I see your faces on my screen. So I'm going to ask Avery first.
I think today I will be playing the poet.
Poet, wonderful. Poet. Then it will ask Rachel, which one calls to you?
I'm gonna play the martyr.
Good choice. Solid choice. Super. And Luna, how about you?
I would like to play the psychic.
Psychic. Wonderful. Okay. So this was step 1 of character creation. Now, step 2. So I would like you, in turn, to tell everyone else what is your connection to the location, which also covers what is the reason of your quest. What are you seeking, essentially? These are the 2 things we need to know. What is your connection to the Greystone? And what are you seeking? What is your quest? Take a minute to think about it, and when you're ready, let us know.
I think this place inspires my character to write, and they are here to get closer than they've ever been, not looking at it through binoculars from far away. They are hoping getting closer will inspire them to write something truly profound.
Wow, that's awesome.
I think for my character, he's somebody who, while not a specific religion, is somebody who is very spiritual, but has had her faith in that spirituality taken, and has probably heard some of the rumors, the stories around this place, and kind of wanted to experience it for herself to see if there is something more to the other side, whatever could be linked here.
Wonderful.
Self-discovery.
All right. Yeah. Great reason to be on a quest.
Yeah, I think the vibe I'm getting from my character is she wants to essentially document the hauntings here, confirm the rumors potentially, and being a psychic, see if she can't find the reason for the spirit or spirits to be running amok.
All right. Very good, very good. Last step of character creation. Each one of you has a special item or object with you. It can be literally anything. You are also very free in understanding how this object might later in the game matter. But it is something that is sort of that defines your character in some way. This special signature item that they have. What is it?
I want to go with the spirit box.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
I think for my character, it's a notebook that is full of all of the rough drafts of their previous works.
Perfect.
While my character is not one specific religion exactly, she has family who is, and I'm thinking that it's a rosary that she wears as a bracelet that was given to her by a family member.
Perfect. Would you like to give your characters a name?
Nancy Stryker.
Nancy Stryker. That was quick.
Yeah.
So
I've
go
been
with
thinking about that the longest of this character.
Perfect. All right.
Uh, January,
January.
like January Jones. I don't know why she came to mind, but she did.
Well, that's perfect.
And this evening I will be playing Conleth Green.
On left. So Conleth, January, and Nancy. Super. All right. That was character creation in Totem. It's finished. And now we are ready to set forward into the unknown. So, how does the game work? We play a number of rounds in which, in turn, I would use the same order we just used. So, Avery, then Rachel, then Luna. So, Conleth, then January, then Nancy. Will take turns exploring, entering, and then exploring the Greystone. You have, whoever's the active player has control of the narrative during their turn, and they can describe and literally create the space in which they enter. Of course, we want to try to make it all fit together with everybody else's storytelling, but when you are entering a new space, you are unveiling a new space, you get to describe, tell us what's in that room, etc., etc. At the end of your description, the GM, me, I can add some touches to it, often the creepy, supernatural, weird stuff to it. And I can also decide if whatever you encountered requires you to pass a test or not to see if something specific occurs to your character. At the end of this, we draw down the map. We sketch the general rough outline of the space that you've explored, and we can add a little bit of text. We can also add a little bit of text from this whiteboard that we're using, just to let us remember that, oh, this room had creepy angel statues in it, which is something that has happened in a recent game that I've played, so that we can keep track of the defining features of the spaces. General speaking, the game is much more about exploration than about interaction between characters, though you do obviously have a chance to ask or call other characters into your scene if it makes sense. If they're in near you, you can interact with them, etc., etc. The goal of this exploration is to find 3 bindings, which are the things that connect the spirit that haunts this place to the place itself, and eventually try to figure out how to undo them, freeing the spirit or saving yourselves in the process, most likely. On my side, just to let everybody know how sort of I'm playing it, I have a vague idea. I mean, I have an idea of who the spirit is. The totems in this game are the spirit archetypes that you can play, and each one there are 4, 5, 6 maybe different types. The totem that we are playing today is the wolf, which is the one we have in the quick start, and essentially wolf spirits are rather ferocious spirits that have a particular capacity to physically harm people, which is something that other spirits cannot do. So it's a very aggressive, territorial, fierce spirit. But of course, your characters don't know this as they walk into this haunted mansion. So I know this, and I have a vague idea of I have an idea of the spirit's history, why it's here, and I have a vague idea of what its bindings might be. But I am going to create the bindings depending on what you guys describe the space and the things in it look like. And also, I actually have no idea how to undo the bindings. So it is kind of up to the shared narrative to figure out what is the right way to set this spirit free and get out of this place. All right. So the 3 of you are standing in front of the great porch that leads into the building, which towers in front of you with its gray stones. And I think it is Conleth's turn, who has the chance to be the first player active and can enter the mansion or do whatever else. Please.
I think Conleth looks at these two people that he's come here with for much different reasons. I do believe that I'll try and work my way around and see if I can't find a garden or something. Perhaps
Garden sounds lovely.
knowing if there are any posterior exits might be fortuitous.
Potentially.
I agree.
So Conleth will follow the porch around to the backside of the house, seeing if there's any sort of maybe wrought iron fenced-in garden, a courtyard maybe that is kind of surrounded by this massive looming gray stone mansion.
Yeah,
I
what
think-
do you find?
I think it is there. The wrought iron gate just hanging on by rusted hinges, open like a gaping maw. As he steps through overgrown hedges where they were once most likely beautiful topiary creatures are now just misshapen blobs of bush and leaf. And I think the thing that draws Conleth in and proceeds to stop him for a long moment is this gorgeous, ornate fountain at the center of this courtyard. A 7-tiered fountain getting smaller as they go up, with these just sort of beautiful, almost Renaissance-like carvings of mythological creatures that are reaching out from the sides of the bowl as water trickles through their fingers, over their faces, down through their hair, and into the next bowl. And they small at the top, bigger, until the bottom, which is this huge, sprawling pool that dominates the center of this courtyard and its overgrown cobblestone paths. And I think Conleth, kind of forgetting that he was looking for a posterior entrance, will just sit by the fountain for a moment, kind of absorb the scene.
All right. So, as you sit by the fountain and let your gaze wander along these vine-covered statues, the overgrown garden, the moss-covered walls, you feel the urge to look into the pool. And in the depths of the pool, the murky water somehow moves in such a way that you can actually see through it incredibly for a second. You see something that must look like a bone.
I think Conleth just notes it. Well, that certainly doesn't belong there. And he'll kind of at first just touch just one finger to the surface of the water to see the rings go out from it before he'll reach
Okay.
down further.
So when you do this, I am actually going to ask you for a test. The tests in the game are actually a 50-50 chance of something good or something bad happening. That's all it is. There's no modifier. You flip a coin, the coin of destiny, heads
it.
or tails. You can also, of course, use any die and roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But the game uses a coin, technically.
Till I get up and get a coin when it's not my turn, we'll use a little dice here. 1, 2, 3 are heads, 4, 5, 6 are tails.
Perfect.
2, so that'll be heads.
Heads. So heads is good. You pass the test. If you fail the test, I don't have to, but I can apply trauma to your character in some shape or form. The effects of failed tests increase as the phases progress. We're at the very start, so I'm not going to be too heavy-handed. There's no trauma here. You also succeeded, so there wouldn't be any trauma anyways. But you have, when you touch the water, you hear in your head a snarl. And somehow you manage to keep your cool and to, I don't know, think whatever your character thinks. What does they think? What do they think?
I think Conleth spins around very quickly. He's never had a good relationship with the canine creatures that snarl, and so he starts up very quickly. Kind of clutches his notebook to his chest.
You are
remember,
alone in this space.
And I think in that moment he remembers now that he was here to look for any alternative entrances to the home, and will set off down one of these mossy paths towards another entryway into the home.
Perfect. Okay. So I would say that concludes your turn, and you can now draw, using the tools that we looked at before, this section of the map that you've described with on the whiteboard, so we can all keep track of it. And you might want to put some kind of symbol, an X or a square or a circle in the middle to remind us that there is a large fountain in the middle of this little garden. And perhaps as you do this, I will move on to Rachel Nancy and to see what she is up to. You're still in front of the front entrance. What do you do?
And January's like still here as well. I think Nancy is in one hand, kind of clutching at the rosary that dangles from her wrist. As she watches Conleth walk off. Well, they say it's not usually great to split up, but I want to go inside. I want to see for myself what all the fuss has been about. And she's going to go up to the giant old oak doors that is the entryway into this manor home, and think, clutching at the rusted handle knob, she's going to twist it and push it open into this was probably once very beautiful and ornate entryway with a grand staircase ahead, but is now obviously disheveled. Rot has taken to the curtains. There's the stair that leads up in the center has collapsed in on itself as to not allow entrance, at least here, to the second floor. Old paintings line the way with doors to both the left and right of this room leading in. She's gonna walk in and kind of take a deep breath and survey the area and just let the energy of the place envelop her.
There is an odd smell to this area. Some of it is what you would expect. Mold, decaying wood, dust. There is an undertone, though, that you find unsettling. What is it? What is the thing that you smell?
wood rot has a very distinct smell to it. This is definitely rot of a different sort. Something more of decaying meat, I believe, is what she would be smelling.
All right, that's not creepy at all. Super. I don't think, though, that you need a test at this point, and I think we can leave it at that. And we can move on to our third explorer, third seeker, Luna or January. And
Yeah, so January will be watching her two traveling companions walk away in their separate directions. And she will follow Nancy and kind of take in the area. But see the door to the left and walk into there. And
okay.
in this room, it looks like a dining hall with a incredibly long, with probably a gorgeous wooden table with chairs with beautiful upholstery and details on the backs. At the end of the table, like opposite from the door, would be a fireplace. Marble fireplace. And looking up would be another floor that kind of looks down at the dining hall.
Mm-hmm. So a balcony, you said.
It's an indoor balcony. That's what I was looking for. And goes into an L shape into a door upstairs.
Okay. Okay. So, as you gaze upwards to the balcony, you notice, and this is almost directly up above the big fireplace that you described, on the balcony, there is one large painting. And the light is dim, so you can't make out the details, but it's definitely the painting of a man. It's the painting of a man in some kind of outdoors situation. You can't see the bottom half of the painting because it's covered by the balcony itself. But something about that painting touches your soul. You can almost feel its gaze looking into you, and I would ask you for a test.
Okay. I have a d6. I'll just do evens, heads, odds, tails.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. That would be a 2.
2, so that's even, and that is good. That is a success. How do you push away the feeling of being observed?
Being observed, I think she would almost stare back in a defiant manner before kind of being the one to back down, pulling her gaze back, shaking her head, looking around.
Okay, super, good. So that was the end of our first round, essentially, and I would just take a second to manage our map very quickly. So I see the space that Avery has created, the walled garden with the fountain, and we need to add then the sort of entrance space.
Yeah, I was
Rachel
curious.
described.
That was something I was curious about, which is why I didn't start drawing it just yet. Because the fountain is outside around the back. So
Yes. So the way Avery described it, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this walled garden is actually on the side of the building, right? So you kind of followed a road that went along the side, and it's in one of the side longer walls of the building. So
Yeah.
is that right?
So
Okay.
the way I imagine it is, so the side with the opening
Yep.
is the only side of this garden that isn't surrounded by the house.
Okay.
It's more of a like central, like a central courtyard.
Oh, heard. Okay.
Which means then that the central, the main entrance, where is the draw tool? Oh, this one. The main entrance should be somewhere around here, correct? Where I'm now making this little blob.
I would assume so.
So you walked around the left side of the building, walked around this wall garden, and entered this door, which faces away from the building. So
Yeah.
here we have. So then what I would add is here we have the sort of a wall. Here we have this space here that I am drawing. This space here is the main porch, if you will. So the double doors that enter the building are here. Oops.
Okay. Heard.
There we go. Something like that.
And that's going to be the start of the staircase.
Staircase. So these are the stairs. Oops.
Well,
Yes,
so the idea is, because I was going to do it like this, to where,
Oh, okay. Let me get rid of that then. Troops.
yeah, so it's going up there and then splitting off both left and right up there.
Okay.
But there is, and I can use the pen tool for this one. There is a break there in the staircase.
Perfect.
And then the doors going left and right would be. Wait, why is it red?
Because there is danger.
Actual danger.
Luna, what side is the room that you entered? Is it on the left where
It
the...
Be on the left here.
So
Mhm.
what I'm thinking is going on is because, so that would actually be pretty small then.
Mhm.
You make it up like right, because the doors I was picturing would be like right here.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Alrighty, let me get started on that.
And the other door being here. Sorry, I cannot draw with my mouse.
Oh, don't worry. This is really the greatest challenge of the session.
And then to denote the balcony, I'll make a thicker line. I guess it's red now.
Mhm.
Up there, and oh wait, hold on, I messed it up. We'll do like and then there's a door here. Upstairs.
Alrighty. So we have our walled garden, our entranceway, large entranceway with a broken down staircase, and we have the upper balcony with the painting. All right, so it's back to Conlith, who was over on the left side of the house trying to figure out how to get in. What's their next move?
I think what they find in that towards the back of that garden area is a door into the house.
Mhm.
And I think they head into it, and this is as they would say in the days of old. We would call it a service hallway now, but this is like a place where the help would go, where they would be unseen and yet able to move. It's dusty, covered in just massive thick cobwebs, and I think Conleth has a little bit of an insensitivity to dust, and this would certainly give him a right proper sneeze with how disused this service hallway is.
Is there anything in the hallway besides a lot of dust?
I think that's the thing that is the most frightening, at least for him, is that it's very much like those, like being in between two unfinished walls. The studs are bare and they're just full of cobwebs. And so while there may be something in this service hallway between the studs of the bare walls, whatever it is has certainly been covered with cobwebs and is unrecognizable at the dimness and the distance which Conleth finds himself at now.
All right. And could we assume, considering more or less where it is, that this hallway leads to the dining area that we've
Yeah,
already
I think
unveiled?
I think
That makes
there's
sense.
I think there is a door into the dining area, but the hallway also keeps going around that top corner of
Okay.
the dining area into whatever lays
Okay.
beyond.
And it snakes around it. Yeah, it's probably a bit too large in our picture, but we get the idea perfectly. Yeah. So as you're making your way down this eerie hallway, and you have the feeling suddenly of being within, it's like the blood vessels of this huge building that snake all unseen, snake through it and reach every nook and cranny. You hear behind you, like the tick 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 of well, you would think of dog feet. Could it be some kind of animal with nails? Tick, 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 tick behind you.
I think that
You
is
do.
I think that is certainly enough for Conleth to want to vacate this area as soon as possible. As I said, Conleth has had very poor experiences with animals of the canine persuasion, and immediately begins to move quite quickly down the hall.
Do you exit the room through the door that leads to the dining hall, or do you follow the passage that snakes around it?
I think for a moment he considers using the door into the dining hall, and then he sees how covered in cobwebs it is, and promptly declines to follow on to whatever area lays beyond.
All right, so you continue. We'll stop there for now. You feel getting quicker as you quicken your pace. No test now. We'll get back to it though on your next turn. And now it's over to Rachel Nancy. One thing I wanted to point out also is that you are not obliged to continue exploring new areas. You can also decide to stay in an area you've already discovered and to figure out if there is more to add to the picture. So just wanted to point that out. So what does Nancy do? Still in the main entrance.
I think while January moved past her into the door to the left, into the dining hall, I think she's kind of in her own head a little bit, trying to get a sense of what she's smelling and why she's smelling it. And almost, I think she's going to search around the staircase itself, especially the broken down staircase. And as she takes the couple of steps up that still remain, she peers down into the hole that is essentially what's left of the stairs leading up. And what she sees, at least initially, is the remnants of a chandelier, one that was more than likely held in just above on the ceiling here, and looking up, there would be the remnants of a fixture on the rotting ceiling
Okay.
of where it used to be.
So it smashed down through the staircase essentially. And
Yes.
as you look up and you look down into this hole that goes into the bowels of the house, you are certain that the smell comes from down there.
I think in that realization, there's a bit of dread for what it could be. Um, who knows? For all this could happen, the chandelier could have been up not that long ago, and it could have collapsed recently on someone's just like them flooring. And I think that alone is going to send just the chillest shiver up her spine, and she's going to quickly move to join January in the dining hall, not wanting to be alone in that moment.
All right, super. No test this time. January, in the dining hall, what are you up to?
I think at this point, having kind of shaken away the feeling of being watched, it's probably still lingering. She's gonna um walk up to the fireplace and kind of gaze into it, see the ashes of uh of wood, of paper, whatever they'd burn in here,
Mhm.
and just kind of with the start, like then be startled by the door opening behind her.
Yeah, so
I
the door, so the door of Nancy walking in.
Yes.
Yeah, so Nancy walks into the room, and the two of you have a second together. Would you like to interact?
Yeah. Yeah, I think she would turn around with a start and say, "Scared me, Jesus."
I'm sorry. I'm not in my right mind apparently. Did you when you walked through the entryway? Did you smell anything weird? Is there anything weird that you're smelling here?
I mean, now that you mention it, it's very dusty and moldy, and I can smell the swamp from in here.
More than that, and whatever it is it's coming from the staircase back in the entryway, but I don't I'm worried it might be someone or something down there.
Okay,
It smells bad.
okay. Would you like to go find out? I certainly would.
I think we should call the cops, but potentially, yeah, we should verify first. Yes, verify.
See if there's a door to the basement.
Yeah.
And she'll cross the room back into the main room, and I think just go straight across the door on the right.
So to the other big door in the entry hallway, correct?
Yes.
Oh wow! In the meantime, I just looked at our map, and it's suddenly to become beautiful.
I know, it's so nice.
Um, so I would actually stop you in the entryway, and we'll
Okay.
get back to the two of you.
Perfect.
The thing you notice when you walk into the entryway is that the double doors that you walk through are shut.
Oh,
And
okay.
we will leave you there, and we'll go back to Conleth, who is barreling down the hallway and sees a door in front of them. Take us away.
I think there's very little hesitation left in Conleth. The fact that whatever's keying off in him, whatever fear within him is becoming representative by his poor experiences with canines is starting to get to him a little bit. I think he just bursts through the door. Conleth is by no means a small man, and though he's quite quite meek outwardly. He often forgets his own strength, and he sort of just bursts through the door, which is rotting and decrepit and easily crumbles under his weight. To see a turn of the century manor kitchen. Knives and cleavers hang on the walls, from, the holes in the handles being hung on nails that are in a board. Old, beautiful, so expensive to get now wrought iron stoves with the wood fuel, and just very old, like butcher block topped islands and counters. And I think off in the far corner he would see back in the day they would call it fixed sealed, but into some sort of maybe ice room, a large ice chest of some sort. The other side, of course, as with many of these kitchens where you're just beginning our love affair with indoor plumbing, the pipes are bare around the edges of the room and down to the sinks and all of that wonderfulness. And I think for a moment he just finds himself in this kitchen, just trying to. This place was so beautiful through binoculars. It was so, it was beautiful in its decay, and now being so close to it, it's mortifying. So I think in this moment he's just trying to gather himself.
So, and as you do this, and you've almost forgotten for a second of whatever sound was following you, because your gaze is drawn to, you mentioned there are knives hanging from their hooks, etc., pots and pans, whatnot. Your eyes are drawn to one large knife which looks out of place. It looks out of place because it is no kitchen implement. It is a large, well-kept, although old, hunting knife with a hardened leather handle, an etched blade, very well kept. And as you look at it, you hear a sound behind you, and the sound is almost like the whimpering of an animal. Look around, nothing's there. The knife is your first binding, and I would like to ask you for a test.
Heads.
Heads?
Yep.
All right, so you are able to acquire or interact with this object in whichever way you think is appropriate. And what might that be?
I think one of Conleth's earliest inspirations as a writer was, the Macho Man classics, your Ernest Hemingways, your, the Old Man and the Sea. And I think it reflects on a part of Conleth that he's lost. He grew up in the north of England in the countryside, and he's just lived in London as a writer for so many years. And he jokes with his friends at the writing club that he's a part of that the city has taken the wild out of him. And I think seeing that knife reminds him of a part of himself. Part of himself that did connect with the old man in the sea that did connect with the most dangerous things of that nature. And I think he just steps forward and takes it into his hands. It's quite a shame that this would be hanging in here. There's a spot on the mantle. Maybe in my study. And he'll tuck it into his bag and maybe see what the ladies have to say about it. And I think he'll look to the door that exits this room back towards the interior of the home, and we'll head off in that direction.
So, Avery, you've just acquired the first the first node is the Italian word. Sorry, the first binding of this story. It's important as something that we will still need to define. However, having done this, we go into the second phase of the game, in which the spirit becomes more dangerous, essentially, as you continue searching for new nodes. All right, let's go back to January and Nancy. And since the two of you are together and working together, I think you can deal with this scene. You can share the spotlight for this scene, essentially.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
What are you up to?
I think as we pass, because January is heading straight for the other door, correct?
She is very putting off an air of that she's not scared. She's just here on business, just going through the door back out to the entryway. But then noticing the closed doors, she would actually, and try to open them, just to see if they'd open.
They do open.
Okay, we're not trapped. That's good.
Oh, sorry. The door's
The
going outside.
exterior, yeah.
No, the doors going outside do not open. Sorry.
Perfect. It's okay. It's perfect. She'll try the doors, and they're stuck fast, and she'll kind of shake them. Take a step back, be like, "Well,
Why aren't they
not
opening?
There. Because whatever is here does not want us to leave."
At this moment, outside of the door, you hear a low growl and a howling on the wind, if you can hear that too. And you can actually, as the psychic, you can actually, since the first node was, and the first binding was just found, you can actually decide to activate your power if you want to try to contact the spirit.
Sure.
Would you like to do that?
Yeah, let's try it.
Alrighty, so let me look up exactly how it works. Yes. So you can question the spirit with a test. If you are successful, so you flip your coin, heads successful, the spirit must respond truthfully to one question. If you fail, you suffer one trauma, and the GM decides how the spirit manifests and whether its words are truthful. Would you like to try to contact them now, knowing that you could take trauma from this
Yes.
decision? Okay.
Let's risk it.
All right.
She'll pop on Spirit Box, and you'll hear that static, that skip, static sound that just reverberates and echoes through this grand entry room. And with the raised voice to speak over the loud static sound, she'll say, "Why don't you want us to leave, Spirit?" Oh, it's a 5. I got odds.
It's a tails. All
Yes.
right. Let me just check. If you fail, you suffer trauma. Yes, so you do suffer trauma. It's not a choice. So what you hear is the box picks up something, and it amplifies the low guttural growling sound that you heard outside. And it reverberates through the inner hall. And it shifts as you listen to it. The growl starts to change, and it becomes what could be words. And as you listen to it, you understand what it's saying. And it's saying, I hunger, I hunt. This does something to January that causes her to suffer one trauma. What is it? It could be physical, it could be psychological. I would say, what do you think happens to her?
I think she would. Stop me if this is like kind of overstepping like the narrative, but I think she would. That smell that she wasn't
Mm.
really picking up on would suddenly fill her body, and the sound would give her like a migraine, and she would drop the spirit box and get sick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the trauma that you can note on your sheet is nauseating migraine.
Perfect.
Essentially, the combination of the sound and the sudden perception of this stench just overwhelms your senses, and your character now has a pounding migraine for the rest of the adventure, basically. And every character can take 3 trauma.
Mhm.
When they reach 3 trauma, it depends. They can start both dying or being possessed by the spirit.
Fun.
So you are now at 1 trauma. But you do have a feeling that the answer was truthful.
Wonderful. Yep, she's just retching in the corner.
Nancy, how do you react to this?
Jesus, do I hear what the same thing that's happening from the spirit box, or is that just something that January heard?
I think it can be both things. What would you prefer?
I think because of January's a psychic. I think Nancy only heard the growling aspects of that coming from the box, and she is literally clutching onto the rosary in her hand so powerfully that her nails are digging into the palm of her hand. And she's gonna be, January, what was that? What was that?
Put a finger up. Get sick. Oh God, it spoke. It's not happy.
What do you mean it spoke? What spoke, January?
Whatever the hell is here, whatever spirit is haunting this place, I think I got my evidence. Jeez.
So this is real. This is really happening. I think in that moment she's gonna try her hardest. She's gonna grab the door handle and start like jostling the door and trying to push out.
You just pound away on this door, but it is not budging. It is shut, sealed.
I can't actually.
And an instant after, some of the big unshuttered windows that were on this ground floor also slam shut.
Oh, that was so loud.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'll actually go over to the spirit box and turn it off because it's probably making everything worse.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
I'll be fine. If I can't get out, the only way out is through. Come on.
Right. I think Nancy is going to take the lead then, and move through the doors that were to the right.
Yes. So the unopened door is in the in the entry hall, essentially.
Yeah.
Oh wow, the map just gets. You guys are great at doing this map. You should have seen the ones I usually make. This is great. All right. What is in this next room?
I think in this next room it's another hallway, but it's one that's crossed. So there's another door at the opposite end, and then two other branches of the hallway going both north and south.
Okay. Is there anything specific in the
It's
hallway that you notice?
it's a portrait hallway.
Ooh,
There's
the portrait hallway.
all yes. Um, cobwebs covering the area. Only a sparse signs of drapery that once used to line the areas in between the many dozens of portrait frames, both of people, landscapes, um,
And dogs.
and dogs.
Large hunting dogs. Large hound. Large Irish wolfhound-like animals. I think we can end sort of this round here, and I would like to bring Avery then back, or rather Conlith back into connection with all of you at this point, because you were headed back to check on your companions anyways, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So,
So I think you come upon them as they've just opened this hallway and are taking stock of all these portraits.
I think Conleth will stumble into there from coming through the main entry where they just exited.
Yep.
What was all that commotion I heard? I came as quickly as I could. Is everything all right?
January's kind of leaning on the door frame. I tried to ask the spirit a question, and it did not like that. It said it's hunting us.
We're still going with the spirits a real thing.
After what I heard, and what he heard, yeah. We also can't open the front door.
Oh yeah, they're stuck.
We're trapped in here.
Well, and Conleth will pull the knife out of his bag. Found this in the kitchen, which obviously doesn't belong there, so maybe a part of this is, I don't know, getting this back to where it belongs? I think it belongs on my mantle, but I've been told I have a problem, and that we Brits have a collective problem putting things on our mantles that don't belong there.
I think that's something we can come back to and decompress that, and at another point where when I don't think our lives could be in danger. What we heard was fucking scary.
Well, we've got a big ass knife now.
It's a hunting knife, right? Well, they're looking at these paintings. There seems to be some connection to hunting of some sort. I guess I don't know. There's a lot of like hunting hounds. I don't know what the proper word is.
Well, I'll tell you this. If I were a man who had enough money to own a house such as this, and dogs such as those, I would have a lavish study where I would hang my knife. That's what I would do.
I like the way you think. We should go find that. Because we can't get out, so.
And if I were a hunting man with hunting dogs and a hunting study, it would be on the second floor, where I could oversee my demesnes and all of the animals I could hunt.
Well, the staircase seems to be out of commission, so we'll have to find an alternative way to get there, but...
I told January this, but I might as well tell you this too. Did you smell? No. Did you smell anything when you came in through the entryway? Like any rotting meat is the best way I can describe it.
Didn't smell anything, but I think there may be some of those dogs still about. I keep hearing them behind me, and I don't like the feeling of being stalked, so...
We're hunted.
Well, the smell was coming from the staircase. The hole there where the chandelier had crashed in. So maybe that's something to note too. I don't.
Maybe
We
there's
were,
a
we were
basement.
going to be looking for a basement to try to see if we could check on, because I mean that could be connected to that, but could also be another person that got trapped here. I don't know.
I know, I agree. If I mean, we're a bit out of cellular phone range, but if there's someone down there, they deserve help, or at least their family deserves to know that they died. I don't think you're wrong. Well, let's set about. Well, up or down? Let's start there. Are we going up or are we going down?
My goal is to see what the spirit is doing here. I say up.
Heart is telling me to go down if somebody's trapped down there. Or
Did you?
something's.
What did you call out for anyone?
No.
Well, the hole's on the way to the staircase. Yes.
We'd have to cross it, but yeah.
So we holler down and see if anyone's hurt, wounded, etc., and see what happens.
Okay.
You're doing fine, Miss Stryker. You're going to be just fine.
Oh, my sister would handle this a lot better than I did.
Come. And Conleth will put the knife. Well, actually, Conleth will just hand the knife to January.
Thank you.
I want to, I don't know, do your thing with that.
She'll look it over. Yeah, we'll see what I could do.
You know what? When you touch the knife, you have an instant in which your headache almost threatens to overwhelm you again. This thing in your hand has a deep psychic charge that is connected to it. You are certain of that.
She'll almost drop it, but then grip it tighter because knife safety. And steady herself on the wall. Say, yep, nope, this is definitely connected to it. We need to figure out what this is. Why it's here.
Do you need anything?
Well, I left my Excedrin at home, unfortunately, so.
I can say when I did find that knife, that dog that's been following me did a bit of a cry, did a bit of a whimper, so don't know what that has to do with anything.
Maybe it's sympathetic. Can only hope at this point.
A whimper could also be scared of it.
That's a good point.
I
should.
will take notes on its motivations.
You do that. Let's head up.
Yes.
So crying down into the hole that the chandelier opened in the floor before the staircase does not lead to any response. Gaping silence. The only thing you can see down there is the occasional shining of the broken crystals of the chandelier itself when a beam of light catches them. Avery, this is still the end of your turn technically, so I'm wondering, does Conleth want to end with some kind of action, or should we move on to another active player?
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the poet once per phase, I can inspire someone to reroll a failed check.
Correct.
Could I use that to see if we can't help good January out of a bit of pain?
It's a good question in the sense if
Or
you
do,
can essentially help her recover from that trauma. So this is a good question rule-wise. I'm not entirely certain in the sense that that would be specifically something that the martyr can do, removing the trauma, though
Trust me, I've been
transferring
thinking
it to
about it.
themselves. Yeah, though transferring it to themselves. And so I would say that because you weren't present to sort of intervene immediately as it
mm,
happened, I would say no in this case.
gotcha.
However, if you did attempt to do something dangerous right now, for example, going down or up this staircase, in that situation, you could definitely use your power to sort of avert any unsuccessful roll.
Yeah, then I think Conleth will um, begin to head up the staircase and try to make the leap over this part of the staircase that was broken by the fall.
All right, so in this case, I would definitely say, would you like to make a test?
Absolutely. That's tails.
That is tails. Would you like to use your inspiration to re-roll?
No, I think I'll save that for someone else if someone else fails.
All right. Actually, you know what? I think you cannot use it on yourself now that I'm saying it. Once per phase of it. No, you can repeat it too. You can also do it on yourself. So you could, but you choose not. Well, I think what happens is that you judge the jump properly, but you land and you have a second to feel like you made it. And then the piece of staircase you've landed on shatters below you. Shatters in a way that it felt solid when you landed on it. You waited a second and then gave way completely. And you fall below, tumbling onto the chandelier, slamming into piles of debris and broken wood. And you take trauma from this, which is in the form of some physical injury from the fall. Do you want to give us some details about that, or do you just want to leave it at that?
Sure. I think as Conleth finally reaches the end of the tumble, because that's the thing that we always forget is that it's the fall doesn't hurt, the landing does. And as I think as he lands, a piece of the chandelier that had broken off one of the sort of brass bars that had become jagged impales him through the shoulder. And he's just kind of laying there pinned to the chandelier at this point.
And as you sort of are reeling from the pain of this puncture wound, you kind of look to the side, and crushed beneath the chandelier, basically right next to you, is a body. Nancy,
Yeah.
you just saw this happen, and you feel the moan of pain from Conleth in the hole. At least they're not dead yet, so what do
Conleth?
you do?
Conleth, can you hear me? Are you okay?
I can hear you, but the poor chap that got the chandelier can't.
Okay, question. Do we have cell phones? I know no service, but do we have cell phones?
Sure, why not?
I would like to activate the flashlight feature on my cell phone and
The
aim it right down.
greatest superpower of the 21st century while exploring haunted mansions. Yes, you can activate the flashlight on your cell phone. It is still working for now, and you better see the scene described. You see Conleth kind of with this piece of metal jutting out of his shoulder, I think, and you are able to make out in the tumble the contours of this second body. You also are able
Yes.
to note that the space that this crashing chandelier has opened up is rather wide, although it is lost in darkness.
I guess we gotta go. We get January. We gotta go down to help him. Um. Okay, judging the distance from there to the hole, if I actually actively tried to jump into the hole safely,
Mhm.
could I, with the space that's down there, could I dodge?
So I would say in a natural situation, yes, you probably could figure out a way with January's help to get yourself down without terrible danger. It's maybe a um, 8 feet drop, maybe a little bit less in the points where the pile of rubbles are on top of which Avery has fallen, which probably saved his life. Actually, now that you think of it. So, if you kind of manage to lower yourself and then drop, should be all right. Would you like to try to do that?
Yeah, she's gonna turn to January and she's gonna say, "You- give me your hand. Lower me down.
Okay.
I want to try to."
Okay.
Yeah, she's gonna like shift herself to the edge and like do that whole like shimmy like herself down and like grab onto January's arm as she gets lowered in as best as she can be.
All right. I would actually like you to make a test. There is a specific thing I'm curious about,
Okay.
and let's see what happens, okay?
Why? Tails.
Tails. So you are everything seems to be working fine. Uh, Again, the wood cracks suddenly and unexpectedly, and you lose your not your footing, but you lose your sort of, I guess, footing because you're kind of crawling down this
Yeah.
broken wood, and you tug January, and what happens, which is what I wanted to know, is that January gets pulled into the hole with you. And so the two of you, there's no damage for this fall, but the consequence of this failed row is that regardless of what January's plans were, you are both in the hole now,
I'm
kind of
so sorry.
coughing up wood dust and etc.
I'm sorry. I must have lost.
You're fine. You're fine.
I'm with kind of like I guess we would have like tumbled onto the ground a little bit.
Yes, you're a little bit to the side, so you didn't fall on top of Conleth yet. You didn't
Okay.
crush him.
Okay.
That's good. At least.
Failed my roll my toss, Avery.
I'm in an exorbitant amount of pain.
I've watched this on YouTube once. We don't want to take that out, but because you might bleed out,
No,
right?
no, I think I want to take it out.
I don't think that's gonna be a good idea.
What do you
But
want me to do? Lay
we could
here and bleed?
we could try to maybe break it off, and so you can like
That's
how badly is it? Like it's fully through him, right?
So it is still sort of one trauma out of three. So it's not something that is immediately life-threatening, but it is something that debilitates the character. We can think of these traumas also as narrative tropes that are affecting your character. So likely, Colness will have quite a bit of trouble using his arm from going on.
Okay.
it's
But
my
you are
writing
able.
arm as well.
I was a
That's
writer
time that you
too
need
before I
to
took a
take a
chandelier
pause.
to the shoulder. Um. All right.
Well,
So if it doesn't look that bad, um, I guess we're going. Yeah. Nancy's gonna would attempt to help. or
Yeah.
at least rush over to Conlet's side at this moment to try to
Yeah.
help get him off.
I think that's fine, and you've already done a test for this turn, so you are able to help Conlet sort of remove this thing from his arm in such a way that he is not going to bleed out, but his arm is in an exorbitant amount of pain. And as you are doing this, I would move on to January.
Yeah, I'll take I'll like help, and well, I guess Nancy would be like checking him over
Mhm.
and whatnot. I'll turn my flashlight on and start looking around the room.
All right. It is so you basically crash down into the old basement of this building, and it has a little bit of vaulted wood vaults in the ceiling, and it's part cellar, so you see some big barrels, because why not? We're in the cellar of some big manor house. There are barrels, there is dust, but as you keep your flashlight focused on the darkness and take a few steps forward, um, and this is the reason why I've actually taken over the narrative, because you have discovered another binding. And the binding is this space, but more importantly, the many bodies that you find. These are old bodies, skeletons mostly, but they are strewn about the backside of this basement space.
Oh,
What
fuck.
do you do?
I think I know where the smell's coming from.
What? And I think that's when Nancy's kind of looking to that direction. And I can't do it, but she's gonna scream.
I think as Conleth is getting himself up and dusting himself off, I think just kind of offhandedly remarks, "Yeah, you know, the Germans have a word for this sort of thing. It's a Leichenkeller, a cellar full of bodies."
That's very specific.
How can you be so calm in this situation?
"They're long dead, darling. There's nothing we can do about it now."
I can't get up and hurt us at least. I don't think.
I wouldn't say that too loud. But,
Well,
what about
we have.
the chap that got crushed by the chandelier?
So the person chandelier, and it's more likely that most of the smell comes from that body. It is far more recent, to the point where it also sort of, you can tell that it's more recent. But even considering that, the way the smell, this odor is behaving is definitely supernatural. This is something that you have unfortunately kind of figured out by now. However, you ascertain without any doubt that the poor chap crushed by the chandelier, that happened way after whatever happened to the poor souls in the basement. I will say one thing, which is that this is the revealing of the second binding, which means that our psychic, if they want to, can try to contact the spirit again. In this case, I would say that Conleth's poet power can definitely apply in case of a failed roll.
Yeah, let's go for it. I'll click the spirit box back on. That same eerie static echoing throughout the basement. And oh gosh, what do I want to ask? Why are you hunting people? And I will roll now. 4 heads.
Or, so that is a success. The static box flickers, the sound flickers, wavers, solidifies in this low-pitched rumbling growl, which slowly transforms into words that only you can hear. And it's only one word, and the word is sport.
All right. Kid hunts us for sport. That's concerning. I don't
In
think
front
the
of
spirit...
you, oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I don't think the spirit is very gonna be very amicable. But what were you saying?
In front of you, so you have one flashlight, and which is though been turned mostly on Conleth to get this thing out his shoulder. And so in the half darkness that many corners of this large space remain in, you seem to see a shadow. So this is the feeling you have when in darkness you see an outline and you're thinking, is something there? No, it can't be. Yes, no. You have that feeling of something looking at you. And as you maybe turn the flashlight to, you never get a clear shot of it, and you have the distinct feeling that whatever it is, there are two shadows that change. One is that, maybe, of a man, and the other is that of a great hound. They never appear at the same time, but you see them looking at you.
We're being watched. And I think the thing about hunting dogs is pretty apt. We gotta
Right.
figure out where this knife goes, or what to do with it.
I think the second that January says, I think we're being watched, she's going to do that panic thing that people tend to do, where they're going to take the flashlight that they have and just sweep.
Yeah. So as you do this, you just have this wild shadow play in the basement, and you see, for a second, you catch something else, which is a shadow that is both dog and man. And then you're alone in the cellar, you're sure.
And the question is, was January the only one that saw that?
No, I think at this stage of the game, you actually saw it too. You don't know what you saw, but you saw this contorted, distorted half shadow.
I think she's just going to clutch her rosary, the rosary to her chest, and kind of just not saying a prayer, but just feeling her own energy, in a sense, trying to gain control of herself. We gotta get out of here. We can't stay here.
I don't think we can get out until we figure out what's going on.
Was there a way out of this room?
Probably. Look for a door.
Are there doors out of this room?
Oh, of course. We gotta get into the basement somehow.
There you go.
Yeah, I would say there's a door opposite the wall of the pile of, or the strewn about bodies, and perhaps another door like to the left wall.
I think just before we leave this room,
Mhm.
I think Conleth will just kneel down by one of these bodies and just probably the freshest, and just kind of examine the wounds if there are any.
Mhm.
Does it appear as if it's been cannibalized, or?
Yeah. So you have the distinct impression that so we've established that Conleth has some kind of outdoorsman experience. Perhaps he himself has been a hunter, or in any case has been in the company of hunters maybe in his past. I don't know. You tell us. But you are able to have you are able to establish that some wounds that you can clearly see on the skeletons are caused by, you would say, some kind of high caliber projectile, perhaps sort of a very from an antique gun, essentially. However, there also are some signs that distinctly give you a feeling of gnawing, and I will leave it at that.
I think Conleth will just look over the body, seeing the wounds of an old 30-30 rifle on them, and again recalling his childhood obsession with the classic American writers like Ernest Hemingway, who was a consummate hunter. And while Conleth prefers fly fishing, and being an outdoors person gets you in the company of people who like to hunt game animals. It's sort of an unavoidable Venn diagram of interests. And seeing that there's been that the bones notate some form of consumption. I think Conleth will look up to January and say, "You said it was hunting for sport."
Yes.
Lied to you. It's hunting to eat. Look at these bones here.
Oh. Yeah.
If it was just hunting for sport, it would just leave the bodies. Maybe take the skin. I think there's some nuance here we're not seeing, and I think that nuance might be in the study.
At that, hearing that there's some more nuance here that we might not be seeing, I think Nancy is going to take her flashlight and kind of examine some of the older bodies, not in the same way. She's not looking for any of the signs of what's been done to them. She's looking if there's any single one of them that stands out above the rest.
So,
Or anything that
I
pops
was,
out, really.
yeah. Well, I think you don't notice anything specific about any of the bodies. None of them, except for the fresher one that was the person who was unfortunately crushed by the chandelier. They all look rather similar to you. However, you are moved. You've established the fact that you have this connection to your rosary, to some kind of spirituality or faith. You are moved by the just the what has been done, I think, to these people. Not just the whatever fate they might have suffered, but to be thrown here at the bottom of a staircase in a dusty basement to just rot away. And there is something deeply wrong in that. I think your character, we've established that they would pick up on this. I think that's what you note when you spend some time examining the poor remains.
I think she still doesn't have any specific denomination of what she feels. She's kind of just, the rosary itself is a familial thing that just has a lot of its own, I guess, sort of faith, but also sentimentality that just grounds her in that moment. And while not a exact prayer, she's going to make a wish, if you will, that these poor souls have found peace in what little that they could have, and not be here still. And also, I think she's going to find her determination in that moment as well,
Mhm.
that they need to fix whatever's wrong here.
Could you roll for that?
Sure. Hold on, I flung that coin. Heads.
Heads. All right. So, whatever brief words you mutter, or perhaps they're not even words, but it's just the feeling with which, of spiritual openness with which you salute these bodies, you feel a moment of peace. And actually, this is something that all of you feel. Whatever Nancy has just done, however overt or not it was, you feel almost like the shadows dim for a minute, and the stench that permeated this place diminishes slightly. You can breathe a little bit easier.
We should go. Figure out
Yeah.
what's going on.
Agreed.
You know, if I ever get my big break as a writer, I might just buy this place.
Yeah?
Okay.
Tut tut.
All right.
I think at that moment, it's like one of those scenes where like he moves off in January, and Nancy kind of just stare like an awkward, like, what the heck's there?
What was that?
Okay. All right, bud.
Okay, so since Conleth is leading the way, and I think we sort of again smush together the turns a little bit, but I think we can start the round again at this point with Conleth leading the way. You make your way through one of the doors, and what do you find?
I think as we move through these, essentially these hallways within the cellar complex, I think what we find is that we enter into a sort of, I don't want to call it a tower because that has certain, that certainly has like certain context about it. But it is a room that has a staircase that winds up several floors. And then, as with homes from this turn of the century period, there are a bunch of dumbwaiters
Mhm.
in this room that go to all of the different rooms in the different hallways to which
different
can be
stories.
accessed from the stairs.
Yeah.
This is another part of that service hallway sort of network.
Yeah. So yeah, sounds good. So you essentially find a winding staircase that leads vertically through the different layers of the house. Very good. Nancy, you're right behind. You witness this staircase. What do you do?
You said we should go up. The study would be on the second floor that we're looking for.
I'm not entirely sure how many floors there are, darling.
Is there like any situation to where she could actually just like glance up, or is this like It's a solid core. I don't know why.
So actually, the way I had imagined it, you could glance up, but do you think that makes sense with what you were thinking, Avery?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an open shaft upwards
Yeah.
with several different landings where you can go into
Yeah.
the different hallways upstairs.
Yeah, I could say that you can tell that there are basically 2.5 floors above you. By 2.5, I mean that there are 2 floors plus an attic of some sort, probably.
And out of curiosity, because shit's been getting weird already, I already thought we were on the bottom floor, but you never know. I'm gonna angle down. See.
Okay. You are on the bottom floor.
Okay, good. It's like,
And
shit goes down.
unless you want to add a secret passage to somewhere, which or something that goes down. You know, if that is something that you actually you can create this. So
I think in this instance, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say it's gonna be like one of those moments where Nancy is kind of like horrified at a thought that just hit her brain, and she just angles down, and then just like there's like a little bit of that. Oh, after just seeing that it's just flat surface.
no, that's normal. That is normal.
Right. Yeah. Let's just continue up. It looks like there's a couple of stories here.
All right.
Yeah.
As you, and then we'll move on to January, but as you start up the stairs, you start hearing again the click of nails following you, and from the darkness beneath, a low growl.
Quick pace.
Just keep walking.
We are
You
power
keep
walking.
Okay, that's good. That's good. You make a roll. Heads.
Yes.
Okay, so actually, you as a group, with you in charge in the lead, hold fast. The instinct is to run. You do not, and whatever is behind you, essentially, because you're not running, does not chase. It keeps following you, but it does not chase nor attack. You know it's there, though.
That's
Do you
good.
go all the way? Do you go all the way to the top floor?
I think in this instance, since Hanlith has the better instinct on where that sort of area might be, she's gonna let him judge and be like, which floor do you think we should get off
Oh,
on?
second to last. I would never put a study in an attic.
All right. And I would say that when you reach the landing, January, you open the door, and what do you find?
So, in the landing is a small hallway with just a few doors. I will go ahead and start making another square. Just a small hallway with a few doors. And she will be like, well, if I was a fancy person with the study, I would have my study at the end of the hall. So she'll just go to the end of the hall, open the door, and sure enough, there'd be this grand study room with towering bookshelves, another fireplace, because why not? And a large desk that was probably really sturdy and nice, but is now just cracked in half, caving inwards.
That's
With some
great.
busted
And you
windows.
know what? Yeah, you know what? This room, though it was once grand, the whole place was grand, but this room was the lavish studio of a gentleman. It is ravaged not just by time, but by signs of unmistakable violence. Something cracked the table, the desk, with great force, and seated behind the table, and this is sort of the last thing you notice, but find a body seated on the um, a body. It is a skeleton. It is as ancient, or more or less as ancient, as the ones you found at the very bottom of the staircase. And I think with just one glance, Avery, you can also tell that, or Conleth rather, that this person has been shot down with many, many gunshots. He is dressed. It is a man, and he is dressed, as opposed to the skeletons you found downstairs, to the bodies found downstairs, he is dressed in elegant turn-of-the-century attire. January, what do you do? Do you want to take any action before you end your turn? Yeah.
Yeah, she'll slowly approach the desk and the body, looking for another item of import, something with a psychic resonance to it.
All right. You look up from the desk, from the body, and you hadn't noticed it initially because it was partially draped behind curtains. You see another painting, similar to the one you saw in the balcony at the very start of our session. It is a man. You might guess the same man that now sits dead before you. A man with distinct, tall forehead, rather handsome actually, in a bit of a cruel way, as a villain from a turn of the century novel might be. In fact, elegantly dressed, with two large dogs next to him in the painting, and a hunting rifle, and at his belt the very same knife that you now carry. When you see this painting, please make a roll.
Okay. Heads.
Heads. So what you see is that the painting, as you look at it and it looks back at you, begins to snarl, and the face of the man starts to change and become something more akin to a great hound. You feel the pulsing in your head increasing, but you are able to push it back. Could you tell us how?
She'll, rather than being defiant like she was with the first painting, she'll just steel herself, grit her teeth, and then take a deep breath, close her eyes, and ground herself, essentially. Breathe out. Feel herself in her body, and kind of shake it off.
Super. And you know that this painting is the third binding. Now you have discovered all three bindings. We are in the final phase of the game, the resolution phase, and this is when the spirit can really start hurting you, essentially. Yeah?
Oh no, I'll just say with the knife, she'll just point and say, I think I found what we're looking for. That's it.
What do we do? Do we just stab the painting or something?
Good a plan as any.
But
But I asked the spirit box something, I just don't know what.
You can actually ask the box something else if you want, because this is the third revealing, and so you have the option to do that again.
I have a suggestion if you want to listen.
Yes, I am open to suggestions.
Where do we need to stab the painting?
Or rather,
Uh-huh.
how do we put your spirit at rest?
Yeah? I like that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, she'll kind of like tapping the spirit or like kind of flicking the spirit box, trying to think. She'll be like, okay. She'll click it on. The same eerie static sound. And she'll, with a raised voice, say, how do we lay your spirit to rest? We want to help you.
Would you flip the coin, please?
I sure will. Oh, it's cocked. Oh, it's tails.
It's
Do
tails.
it again. Do it
Here we
again.
go.
The
Well,
poet.
could you, yeah, poet, could you tell us how you inspire your companion to not give in to whatever horror is about to strike her?
I think Conleth will start by saying, No. Straighten your back. Support your lungs with your diaphragm. Speak with some authority, dear. And then he will repeat a piece of his own verse, where he just says, "The time of general unawareness has ended. All of life can be viewed from the nebulous realm of satellite imagery, distilling what once was gazing up in childlike wonder at the clouds above into a pale and ignoble shadow of indignant hubris."
Oh, it's heads.
It's heads. That's great. I want to know though how January reacts to this.
Oh, she will like kind of be like, okay, nope, straighten my back, speak for my diaphragm. You're right. No, have to have authority over these things. And then listening to that, she'll be like, that's actually really beautiful.
Well, sham writers don't get paid, darling.
Sure. And she'll repeat the question with more authority.
All right. Could you tell me again what you want to know exactly?
How do we lay your spirit to rest?
How do we lay the spirit to rest? So, the answer that you get from the spirit is, and this is what would have overwhelmed you, is a flash, a vision of your bodies in the basement, gnawed on by dogs. What you push that image back, that threat back, and what you see is instead the destruction of the painting. Somehow that is definitely key to it. Exactly how to accomplish this is unclear. You, in your vision, you see it burning. That is definitely step number one.
Okay.
As you are contemplating this, though, the ground beneath you starts to shake. And it's almost as though the house begins to tremble and howl. And you hear the howl of the man who is a dog, who is in this case the entire house around you, filling the air with its screams.
Okay, we gotta destroy the painting. We gotta do it fast.
We are back to Conleth, I think, right?
Yes. I think Conleth is going to get because you said the painting was rather high on the wall.
Yes.
I think Conleth is going to take a few steps backwards from January and then get a running start off of the broken desk to leap up and try and grab the painting from the wall.
All right. Could you roll for that, please?
I can. It's a heads.
Heads. So as you jump and are kind of airborne, heading towards jump from the desk to grab the painting, you see the face of the man in the painting push out, his jaws lengthening, and snap at you. But somehow you manage to accomplish your goal. How do you do that? What happens?
I think much to his chagrin and kind of unconsciously, the thing that stops the bite from connecting with his flesh is as he jumps, that notebook that he carries of all of his rough drafts of his prose gets caught in the beast's maw and ends up being little more than half of what it is, sort of torn across the middle and pieces of paper flying every direction. But he will grab the painting off the wall and then come to a thudding stop on the ground. He'll just kind of look down at the notebook, a little bit sad, before he'll scoop it up in one hand and, well, half of it, and toss it back in his bag. All right, we have the painting, and he'll just hold it out. Use the knife. I mean, just desserts.
It's all burning.
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 Do we have fire?
There's a fireplace in here.
I mean,
What?
this is fair enough. I'll
Is this-
hold on to this, and you get the fire going.
Oh, the
So right-
fireplace in this room, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll do that. Okay.
Nancy, will you take the lead?
Sure. And we're sure we need to do it here, like this.
We gotta do it quickly.
Okay. She's gonna go up to the fireplace, and usually there's some sort of start. There's some sort of matches or something left behind, and she's gonna is she able to find anything?
Yeah.
Okay. She's gonna grab whatever's there. If anything, add some of the broken down furniture, the wooden furniture into the fireplace itself, and then almost manically starting to try to get the fireplace lit up.
All right. Could you flip that coin?
Very bad at flipping coins.
You're great.
Heads.
Heads. Okay. So, you managed to ignite this. So what happens? You manage to ignite this thing, and then you're thinking, okay, it's burning. Wait, it's burning way too much, and there's a blast of flame that tries to strike you, and somehow you avoid it. Do you want to elaborate on that?
I literally think it's just dumb luck at that point. I literally think she just jumps backwards after screaming and just kind of barrel rolls out of the way.
Tumbling down, but the flame goes, and then it's back, and the fire is actually now burning nicely as the house howls around you once more. And now, January, you're up.
I will take the painting from Conlev and toss it in the fire.
Could you roll for that, please?
Absolutely. Heads.
All right. So the last thing that happens is, as you are trying to shove this painting into the flaming the blazing fire in the hearth, the furniture around you just goes wild, and there is like a storm of projectiles going your way. In this maelstrom, you even kind of seem to feel, you hear the howling, and you feel the teeth of the hound snapping near your feet, trying to pull you back, but somehow you manage. And could you tell us what happens?
I think she'll try to toss it, and it like just falls short, and so she'll go back closer to the fire and pick it up and start shoving it, trying to shove it in there as safely as she can, and just like ducking under flying furniture or vases or what have you, and like almost kicking back whatever's biting at her heels.
Back these snapping jaws, you almost have the feeling that you connect with something. It might have just been a piece of furniture, but you feel like you kick something back. And the second after, the figure of the man is now fully transformed into a giant bipedal sort of upright hound. The painting catches fire and starts burning burning with gusto. It just crackles up as though it were completely dry, which it probably was. Around you, the house continues to scream. The floor begins to crack under your feet. What do you all do?
I think it's book it.
Yeah, we run.
I think Conleth is going to look to one of the windows of the study.
Uh-huh.
Out the window, down the roof. Hope you stick the landing.
Sure.
There's a garden and bushes, so it might help. And Conleth is gonna open the window and slide down the tile roof.
Yeah, Nancy will flush her rosary and just take a breath and just like take a breath and hold it. She's not breathing now. She just does that.
I'll be the last one out.
Could you all three flip a coin one last time?
Absolutely. Heads.
Heads.
So I think what happens is that you're somehow sliding down this roof, hanging on to handhole, sliding down gutters, etc. Conleth in the lead, finding the right path. January right behind him, agile and sliding down like a cat. And Nancy is thinking, I can do this, I can do this, I can. And then you're falling. You are somehow falling. And you hit a patch of brambles. Fortunately, this cushions your fall. You perhaps sprain an ankle, break a leg, something. There is, you take one trauma from this fall. And fortunately, you, I believe, had not suffered any trauma at all.
Not yet.
So you are scarred by the adventure. What happens exactly? You are hurt, but not.
We're going full broken leg. She's gonna walk with a limp for the rest of her life after this.
All right. So the pain is excruciating, but you did make it down first before everyone else. So if that is any consolation, and as you flee into the moor, you see the building continue to shake and slowly start to implode as though it will pull down. And within minutes, there is nothing left but a pile of rubble. And you are outside, and you are alive, mostly unhurt or not hurt too badly. And this wraps up, what happens as you watch this happen?
I think Conleth will kind of I think having gotten this far would have put Miss Striker's arm over his shoulders to kind of help her move a little quicker. And I think he'll just kind of putting one arm around January's shoulders and holding up the young Miss Striker will recall fondly a quote from Ernest Hemingway. "There is no hunting like the hunting of man, and those who have hunted armed men long enough and liked it never care for anything else thereafter."
Is indeed the moral of this story. So, as your characters walk off into the dawn, incredibly, somehow time seems to have expanded and extended while you were inside the mansion. You were in there much longer than you imagined. You're able to make your way down the path out of the park surrounding the Greystone and into the trails where I suppose one or more vehicles are waiting for you. Now, the experiences of this night will follow your characters for a long time. I am particularly curious to know what happens to the knife.
I will, for better or worse, as before we all get into our respective cars, I'll just hand it handle first, be like, "For your mantle."
Conlitz will take the knife in his hand and smile. "Well, that mantle would have been much nicer, but I guess I'll have to find new plans for a summer home.
When you make it big, sure will.
I'll make sure you get a signed copy of the artistic conflagration of what happened here today."
You certainly got inspiration, I think, for your next book of poetry.
Really.
So this brings our adventure to the close. Totem actually has a the ending that then affects your characters depends on the amount of bindings that you are able to undo during the adventure. And I would say that you have undone probably 2 out of 3, 2.5, 1.5, 2 out of 3. 2 is a redeeming ending, which means that you have grasped the essence of the evil, tying the spirit to the material world. You've tried to appease it, and you've managed to some extent to do so. You bear scars of this experience, but time will bury the most horrid memories. Considering this ending, how does the experience affect your characters? Could we start with Nancy, please?
I think, especially after what she felt in the basement room with all the bodies, after she had said that little prayer, that wish, and everything from the chases, and then the final confrontation, and even having that wound now that ache that's going to be a reminder of that experience for the rest of her life. I think she's refound her spirituality. She got what she was looking for, and I think she's going to continue down the path of trying to find more places like this, becoming a sort of paranormal investigator in her own right, to see if she can help others move on too.
Right. How about January?
I think that's actually very apropos because I was thinking that January was this was her first kind of she always knew she was psychic, but she never really did anything with it. And this was going to be her first, like, I'm going to go go document evidence. I'm gonna go prove that this is real. And I was also thinking she would then become a paranormal investigator, and a medium of sorts. And I think it would be nice if they teamed up.
Team. We're gonna start our own
Our own
investigation.
ghost
Wow.
adventures.
Yes.
Oh, very cool. Okay. How about Conleth?
I think Conleth's memories of what happened over the course of that night, much to his chagrin, fade the most over time. Of course, Conleth continues his writing career, but there are some distinct things that change in his life. There's certainly behaviors where he doesn't like having photographs, like he doesn't like looking at photographs anymore. His aversion to dogs has probably become a full-on phobia. He stays inside. I imagine Conleth becomes a prolific writer, making several books, a year, and just becomes wholly obsessed with his work. And while he doesn't no longer views it as the city having taken the wild out of him, he now knows that his specific kind of wild belongs in a cage. And so he stays in and becomes obsessive and just writes these books of very, very dour, but very, very moving in their stark contrast poetry.
And that might be a wise choice because some nights when it's late and dark, when you only have candlelight perhaps to inspire your mood, you finished a long day of writing, perhaps you've had a drop to drink, perhaps not. Sometimes in those nights, you stand up and walk over to the mantelpiece where that beautiful knife is perched in display, and you feel deep inside you the desire to hunt. So maybe keeping that desire caged is what is actually saving your soul.
Wonderful.
Holy shit.
Wow.
The end, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was so much fun.
Thank you all for being here. We're gonna go around one more time, introduce ourselves on the go out like we always do, and then we will bid you a good time zone. Let's go ahead. Let's just take a moment for the absolute delight that was having Ian on. Ian, please introduce yourself again.
Ooh, thank you guys. I had a wonderful time actually. This was so much fun. This game is a real discovery for me too as a player GM. So as I mentioned at the start, I'm Ian. I work now. I'm a historian by training. I work now in the tabletop game design business in Italy, and I do a lot of things, including translating into English this game Totem, which is close to completion and close to be on Kickstarter as of mid-September when we are recording this. And yeah, it was great. I had a great time. Thank you so much for the wonderful storytelling and adventure that you created. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure, Ian, an absolute delight. Let's go ahead and throw it on over to the wonderful Druid by Night.
Hello, I'm Luna, or Druid by Night. Tonight I have been January, no last name. I never come up with last names. And I am the social media director here at the Rolling Nomads. But more importantly, I had so much fun. I will definitely be picking this game up. You should too. This was everything. This was more than I could have hoped for. When I was reading the quick start guide, I was already excited, but this solidified, yeah, this was amazing. So thank you.
Absolutely. Azure.
Hi, everybody. I'm the Azure Butterfly, or Azure for short, or simply Rachel. You can find me at the azurebutterfly.ttv or Azure Butterfly and all the social medias. This was amazing. I was Nancy Stryker, relation to another character I made a while back that decided on the fly. And like, I only started reading through the quick start guide tonight, like maybe an hour before game, and I was enthralled. And playing it been so much fun. Like, I was nervous, but like it was really good, and it's been such a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been Avery, at Avery DuBois on all the social media platforms. I'm a community ambassador right here on the Rolling Nomads. I play a bunch of games. I stream on my Twitch. It's all really wonderful. And you should check that out. And like I said earlier, all of the links, if we have them at the point that this debuts, all the links to Kickstarter are going to be down below. They're definitely going to be on our YouTube when this video goes on our YouTube, so you should check it out over there. We're going to have clips of this on our TikTok. You should check that out too. And thank you all for being here, my dear viewers, and we'll catch you on the next one. Happy time zone.